DC Comics' new Absolute line was off to a great start with their first issues. Absolute Batman set the stage with their social political thriller, Absolute Wonder Woman followed up with an action-filled fantasy adventure book, and Absolute Superman capped the three off with a gripping sci-fi drama. I've already talked about the second issues of Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman, and felt that they continue to be very strong. And this week saw the release of the second issue of Absolute Superman. And wouldn't you know it, DC are 3 for 3. Absolute Superman 2 is a great comic that goes to show that these characters may be in a brand new universe, living very different lives, but they're still recognisably the heroes we all know and love. When we left off last time, Superman found himself handcuffed to Lazarus Corp agent Lois Lane, who was trying to bring him in. At the start of this issue, she is still doing her best to get him to surrender peacefully, telling him to drop to his knees and it'll all be over. This is in stark contrast with the Peacemakers, who are very eager to open fire on Superman, ironically, going as far as claiming that they can hear him saying he wants to hurt Lane to justify their bloodthirst. In the process, they almost kill Lane, but Superman shields her and leaps away. There are parallels that can be drawn to those in the armed forces or even the police that take the job simply because they want the opportunity to hurt other people. Shoot first and ask questions later and all. And we see an example of this towards the end of the issue, where the Peacemakers open fire on the civilians outside of the mine, simply because they are frustrated that Superman got the better of them. I suspect that this wanton slaughter of innocent people will act as a catalyst, but for whom it remains to be seen. Lane, seeing Superman's heroism firsthand, softens her stance on the Man of Steel, so perhaps this may result in her abandoning the Lazarus Corp. The next thing I wanted to discuss was the fact that we are given some clarity on when Superman arrived on Earth. In the mainline comics, Superman was adopted by the Kents as a baby. Last issue showed us a young Kal-El growing up on Krypton with his parents. And this issue contains another flashback to Kal-El's life on Krypton, but most importantly, it is dated 6 years ago. So that tells us that Superman either came to Earth as a teenager or a young adult. There's another flashback several years prior when Jor-El and Lara put together their plan to save Krypton by constructing rockets. Jor-El has faith that when he presents his findings to Krypton's scientific community, they will see that he is correct and focus their resources on implementing his plan. Ah, poor innocent naive Jor-El. For someone so gifted and intelligent, he could be so blind. It's during this scene that we're told that the ship Jor-El built would also act as Kal's protector. So it's Sol, right? That's a great example of sustainability right there, taking an interplanetary vessel and recycling it into a sentient protective suit for Kal. Speaking of Sol, he demonstrates a lot of different abilities in this issue. He attempts to break down the handcuffs that link Lane to Superman, but as quickly as he breaks them down, they reform, indicating that they're more of Brainiac's alien tech. He can also jam Lane's signal when she tries to contact the Peacemakers, and perhaps most importantly, we see that the red dust that follows him around, looking like Superman's classic cape, has a lot of different uses. Oh, and it's sunstone dust, made of the material that powered Krypton's advanced society. The dust acts as a shield for Lane and Superman when the Peacemakers fire upon them. It's also used as a high-tech band-aid that treats the wounds of the civilians, and he uses it to carry the wounded. All in all, it is an incredibly versatile substance. Now getting back to the flashbacks, there was another that showed us Kal's school days that I found particularly enlightening, especially given some of the developments in the real world around generative AI. We see a teenage Kal-El on Krypton sulking in his room during a lesson. It seems like the children of Krypton learn in isolation, from the comfort of their own homes, only communicating with each other through video conferencing. A bit like how things were here during the pandemic. Kal seems to be quite sullen, or maybe just tired, as he slumps at his desk before laying down on his bed. We are shown that Krypton has a very different take on education. Rather than encouraging the students to solve problems for themselves or come up with their own ideas, they are required to use the state-approved generative AI to produce essays for them. This database of knowledge contains all of the approved knowledge of Krypton, and veering from the approved topics is frowned upon. Kal had written a story about the dangers loggers face, but the problem was, according to his teacher, that he wrote it all himself and didn't follow the assignment. Lois Lane experiences a similar issue when she uses the Lazarus Corp's proprietary Brainiac AI assistant to write up a report of her encounter with Superman. The AI seems to be Brainiac himself, as he is shown monitoring her responses. But it's presented as a tool that Lane has to use, and it has its own take on her report. When she tries to say that she didn't view Superman as a threat, Brainiac decides that he should be logged as an 8 out of 10 on the threat scale, much to Lane's anger. and so she decides to write the report herself, independently of the AI tool. Despite existing in different universes with very different backgrounds, it seems that both Kal and Lane are still writers. And it's funny to note that it is said that Lane historically hated filling out paperwork and would always complain, but seeing Superman in action and being chained to him as he saved the civilians has inspired her. And Lane makes some pretty astute observations about our new Man of Steel. She notes his youth and how he is clearly holding back, still not quite certain of who he wants to become. She highlights that he seems to have two sides, one shy and soft-spoken, the other confident and commanding. Very much like the Clark Kent and Superman dynamic that we've known for decades, just without a pair of glasses and a slouch to hide behind. At least for now. My final thought involves this short scene where Kal inadvertently reveals to Lane that he is from another planet. He refers to Earth as your planet, as in not his planet. He also draws parallels between what happened on his planet, Kryptonian-made destruction, through greed, overconsumption, and willful ignorance, and what is currently happening here. So those were all the things that leapt out at me from this issue of Absolute Superman. This was an action-filled comic with most of the page count dedicated to Superman evading the Peacemakers, while Sol tried to get the cuffs off him. This was a great demonstration of his heroism though, because despite Lane being a part of the group that are his enemies, he went out of his way to protect her. She is ostensibly one of the bad guys. For how long remains to be seen though. But through his acts of kindness and compassion, he was able to get through to her. This is juxtaposed with the Peacemakers, who invented threats to justify their bloodthirst. I also really enjoyed the flashback set on Krypton. Oh, the anguish I feel reading Jor-El's hopes for saving his people, and his belief that the Science Council of Krypton will listen to his well-reasoned, evidence-based argument. His backup plan of stealing as much sunstone as they need also sounds pretty naive, given that Sol stated that Kal-El is the last surviving member of the El family. So yes, I am looking forward to the next issue. Okay, that's it for this week's essay. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, tell all your friends about me. You know how YouTube works. If you really enjoyed the video and have the means, please consider making use of the thanks button to send a buck or two my way, because every little helps. I offer channel memberships for $1.99 a month. This will get you early access to my weekly video essay, priority responses to your comments, members-only videos, custom emojis, and an icon on your profile indicating that you're one of my people. And special thanks to my current channel members, who are all listed on the screen right now. If you would like to get a copy of this issue, you should head to your nearest comic shop. If that's not an option for you, you may want to consider buying a digital copy from Amazon. I have an affiliate link that you could use, which would help my channel out. I have included this link in the video's description, as well as the info button in the top right corner. Now, I will turn it over to you. Have you read this issue, and what do you make of it? Are you down with the young, inexperienced Kal-El and his international mission of protecting the planet? As ever, share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.